All right, today is Wednesday, December 21st. It is 7 p.m. on the dot. Would you all please, meeting is begun. And would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hi, this is Jim Lemon.
Okay, item 2.04, approval of agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Trejo, seconded by Mrs. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. We have one board member who is absent due to work responsibilities, and that's Mr. Jim Lemon.
We have a stand-in.
And we have additional, she hasn't sworn in, but we're happy to have her with us. Item 3.01, approval modification of minutes from the December 7th governing board meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Morales,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0. Item 3.02, approval modification of minutes from the December 7th executive session. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Trejo, seconded by Mr. Morales. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0. Item 4.01, recognition of members of the Yes to Tempe Kids Committee. We have, I think, just Mr. Rogers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so we would like to call Mr. Rogers up to present to him a thank you gift for all that he and his committee did to ensure that, we have this wonderful thing where we have consistent support of our community, but we also have to have somebody organize so that they know that we need their support, right? Every time we do this. So we would like to give this to Mr. Rogers in just a second. But I want to name off everybody who participated. We have Evan Rogers as our chair and in charge of fundraising. We have our vice chair and secretary as, Ms. Franklin, sorry, also on the committee. And treasurer Brian Lee, events committee chair Giovanna, yes, I can't remember say the last name. CUNY outreach Susan Ashcraft, online social media Darren Gonzalez, oh my gosh, sorry. And sign committee Jason Grant.
We need music.
And he's very happy for you.
Yes. She says thank you for taking care of our kids.
Do we have any board members who'd like to add anything to? Absolutely. Yes, Mrs. Ewers.
I'd like to personally thank Evan and the committee. It was like a well-oiled machine. Every single person in that group with your leadership just wanted to make this happen for the bond to pass, and they walked and they talked and they lived the moment, right? Like they didn't just come in and do the meeting and then not hold up to what they said they were gonna do. They did it, but it was your leadership that made that happen. So I just wanna thank you. We're grateful. Our kids are grateful. They just don't even know it yet. But the community is definitely, they're so happy that it passed, and you did a great job organizing it. So thank you.
Mrs. Trejo?
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to echo what Ms. Ewers said. Thank you so much, Evan, and to our entire committee, everyone who knocked on the door, made a call to every single voter who voted in support. Thank you so much. And it's, again, for our kids like Penny, who in a few years will be at Tempe Elementary herself. So thank you, guys.
Mr. Morales?
Yes. Thank you, Evan, and the rest of the committee. I've been to these meetings before and in the past, and it's one of the best campaign committees I think I've seen in a long time, especially for an override. A lot of school districts are not successful, but we definitely want to thank all of you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. I do love that it is genetically passed on to her to be vocal.
When the microphone went on, she was like, let's do this.
Yes, live mic, let me talk. Okay. All right, we're going to pause for just a second as Ms. McDaniel gets Mr. Lemon on the phone. Having a bit of communication challenges. Yeah.
Hello, this is Jim.
Hello, Jim. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you.
All right, Mr. Lemon, we're on item 4.01, and we just recognized Mr. Evan Rogers and the other two committee members that are here for their efforts in the PAC committee to help us pass the override.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like to say anything before we move on to item 4.02?
I'm glad that all the volunteers that helped us with this issue, and they always step up when we have a need. I personally thank them. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Item 4.02, special recognitions, presentations to governing board member Patrick Morales. This is not my favorite part of this meeting, although I am grateful to just be able to publicly say thank you for all that you did, especially 4 years ago with all of the help that you helped me with understanding what to do with the board. So if you wouldn't mind meeting me down there. Oh, sorry, never mind, hold on. I skipped Dr. Driscoll.
It's all right. I cried a little bit, just back there.
You're
but-
used to it?
Yep.
All right.
I don't know how you top the baby talking and then you talk after that, so. But for 8 years, Mr. Patrick Morales has been dedicated to serving the students, staff, and community of Tempe Elementary. Mr. Morales was sworn in as, it's getting a little echo here, let me push it that way. Mr. Morales was sworn in as Tempe Elementary Governing Board member on January 7, 2015. I think you were like 17 when you came in. 4 out of the 8 years that he served as president and vice president. He was actually the president my first year here as superintendent. Mr. Morales participated in what some may describe as difficult conversations, not to be limited to Red for Ed, COVID, and more recently, the renaming of 3 of our schools. He was instrumental in improving the implementation of Tempe Pre, the opening of Meyer Montessori, the opening of the dual language program at Aguilar, all of which expanded educational opportunities for all our students here in Tempe Elementary District. Mr. Morales has approved and participated in a handful of school builds. And when we start counting these, we've done a lot of building. So thank you, all the volunteers here with our Tempe Bond. The groundbreaking and ribbon cutting events at Arredondo, Shamley, Spercali, Frank, Nevitt, Wood, McCamey Academy, and Geneva Epps Mosley Middle School. And I can't forget to mention the countless policies he's approved. We've been here some many hours approving policies. The many budget and fiscal decisions he has been a part of, and all the contracts, partnerships, and donations that he has supported. Mr. Patrick Morales, on behalf of Tempe Elementary School District, I would like to personally thank you for your unwavering support, for your positive impact you made on this district, and for the countless decisions and approvals you have made that were in the best interest of our students and staff. You will be sorely missed, and you will have your hands full. And I say a special prayer for you because when she gets to be 17, God help you. But I would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation for you.
Thank you, Dr. Driscoll, and thanks for keeping me back on track. Mr. Morales, would you like to say something? Or would you like us to speak first? You
I'll
get to
go
make the call.
first because I might be really long. No, I'm gonna try to be brief, but it's hard to sum up 8 years of a lot of ups and downs and great things we've done and challenges we've faced. And I've told some of you, you were all mostly in different positions 8 years ago, and so we've had a lot of changes in just that, and it's been great to see a lot of us kind of come up through this district together the last 8 years. Some of you from principals and some of you from other roles in different districts or from your director roles. So it's been great to see how some of the departments have grown, some of them have shrank, some of them have improved. So that's probably the biggest thing that I'm in awe of. When I first got on the board, I didn't know anyone in the room, and now it's very different. So I wanted to start with that, but I think for some of you don't know, but my family's full of educators. My grandma was a Spanish teacher, and my mom English and EL teacher. She's still teaching in high school. So when I decided to run for the school board, my family was confused because they were like, "You're so young, why are you, I don't understand how this works." And I was like, okay, let me explain. I had started doing activism in higher education at ASU and realized I kept hitting a wall when we were talking about education as a right, and that wall was there because it had been built up because they didn't go to a pre-K program like Tempe Elementaries. And so kind of going back to basics was the thought, and that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to run for the school board. The other big reasons were we were realizing kind of what was looming from the charter school system. That's one of the main reasons I ran, and this was 2014, so no one believed me till 2016, but it took a while. And the biggest thing when I got on the board, we were still having some healing conversations from schools that had been shut down. So really regaining community trust and the rebuilds have been a big part of it. My first rebuild was Laird, so I was glad that we were at that renaming this week. I was lucky enough to bring my grandma to that one before she passed away, so that was pretty shocking to her, because she taught 6 people in the southern part of Mexico, and she told me she would take a boat to teach because she was teaching Spanish to Native Americans there. So it's a big shift from kind of how my grandma taught to seeing the Laird campus, which at that time was the first new design. I think it's just been in our family, and we understand that education is something that not just liberates everyone, but that equalizes everyone. My mom and dad, they met in English class when they first came to the United States, so I don't think they finished the English class, so they said they never finished verb tenses is their joke, because they just started dating and never finished the class. My mom then, was taking care of kids in California and became a teacher's assistant, and then a teacher, and is now finishing her PhD. And when I moved to Arizona, my dad signed himself up for college. So then he got his associate in special education, which shocked me because I signed him up for engineering. So a month later, he had moved it. He was like, "Yeah, I want summer off." So I was like, "Okay." So, I mean, we've been able to accomplish so much. We've had record raises because of Red for Ed, but so much because of district leadership and great CFOs now and before with Ms. Yeski. Many school districts decided to spend the money in other ways. One of the best things I love about our raises is we treat it equitably. All employees, you're not looking across the hall and saying, "Oh, that person got a higher raise than I did." So that's very different and not the norm. Our purchasing method with school rebuilds is not really used anywhere else. Doing an internal search for a superintendent just shows how much we have trust within each other and for the school district. The new trend in like 2014 through 17 was probably the conversation around equity, and everyone was kind of thinking, Tempe has good values, we have equity, but how do we take the next step? And I think a lot of those years we're talking about that, and now we're talking about, how do we get to equity 2.0 or 102? And some of the best work I think that Ms. Trejo has continued at ASBA was embedding equity as one of the core tenets of that organization. That conference was sometimes, and it was new, and now it's always part of that organization. I don't have to be there. Ms. Trejo doesn't have to be there for them to continue with that work. But I think that's been one of the best things that we've been able to see. I think I've been lucky enough to participate in democracy and affect it and give it years of my life, but we've also learned how fragile it is with the work we do here and what we see on the news and the state capitol. But I have hope when I see not just our board, but the way school boards act around the community. So I definitely want to thank all of you for that and for making this place a great place to have served the last 8 years. I've gotten to do the bus ride-alongs. Those are my favorite because the kids are very honest. I get to ask them about uniforms. I did a lot of those as my audit of TD3 when I first got on the board. Food services, I showed up and I just watched the documentary and I was like, I'm gonna overhaul this whole program. And then I walked in and I was like, oh, everything's fine, never mind. So, we've taken huge leaps and bounds for safety. And like I said, we've always prioritized our teachers. And the principals, I think, have always had a good heart from what I've seen the last 8 years. And I think the new cadre we have, and those of you that are no longer principals, it's been great to see how much has changed. And it's much harder to look at a school and say, okay, there's a lack of leadership, and that's been intentional with Superintendent Dr. Driscoll and Nancy Uxa and Superintendent Bush before. We just have great principals, and I think a lot of school districts are like, does anyone want to be the principal? So I haven't seen too much of that here, so that's good. And I think specifically I was going to recognize Mike and Brittany. I think I would bother Brittany every day with questions. Now I bother Heather. But, I was talking to Mike about, he was the cool principal, now. And then he was the mean HR guy. Now he's the associate superintendent. So it's been great to see just how we've all shifted. And Brittany had to do it all alone. Now she's got like 20, 30 people up there. But I think I also wanted to just thank fellow board members, and that's why I'm glad you're here, Evan. So everyone that I've served with, I think, Evan and I was talking to Evan earlier about it. It can't be understated how much, when I first ran, I was young and I was at ASU. I was poor and I was like a brown person. So surprisingly, the biggest barrier was age. And I think our 2 young board members in the room might see that and have seen that, and it's a continuing thing. And I'm going to count Evan as a young board member. So when we got on the board, we were probably the first people without, white and gray hair. So it was very shocking to a lot of people, and I think it brought the first kind of shift in Tempe. That was new and exciting for everyone. And to the board members that aren't here anymore, Teresa taught me so much about diplomacy and friendship. As board president, I had to have more conversations with her than anyone else in this room. But it was great to see that when our nation was most divided, we could still meet up for dinner and do karaoke in Flagstaff, And, Rochelle, of course, taught me that school boards were the first elected body of the United States. But she also taught me, the meaning of being meticulous and hitting doors and knowing every neighbor. And I'm sure she has more files than I do at home. My wife knows I have a lot of boxes of TD3 files. I have to keep them for 5 years. That's the teacher. And Jim, I think Jim can hear us. Jim, it's interesting because we ran against each other the first time, so it was pretty spicy, the campaign. But interestingly enough, when we swore in, immediately, and I think Evan was sworn in that year as well, Jim became a mentor, and we've circled back years later and had many dinners and conversations at his home. He gives my daughter minerals and gems from his adventures, and it was great that I could then be be a bigger part of his life during the pandemic and during all the craziness of the world. I think, Allison, I think the first time I ever saw you, you were pregnant with Brody, I think, and you were canvassing. So that's how hardcore she was. And you've just brought an amazing voice of not just a parent, but someone that's health conscious, especially when we needed it the most. We were all worried, but you were more worried, so that was good. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for your new leadership, as well as Ms. Windsor. I think it can't be understated how much an entire movement propels one person forward. There's no formal student movement because the organization I came out of got defunded. And the next year I ran for office. So you were the byproduct of Red for Ed. You know, there had to be hundreds of teachers walking out in Tempe for you to run. And it was, you know, that's important. You know, Armando came out of mental health movement. Like, everyone comes out of a certain something. And I think you were the only teacher brave enough to kind of speak your mind during that entire thing, and that was great and amazing to see. And I'm glad you've brought that voice to the board as a current teacher as well, just seeing what's happening. And I think, and I've talked to people, I think, about my story with Monica, how I ended up in this situation. But I think I first met Monica at like some mixer or something. And I was like, oh, she has like 50 degrees. And she, like, you know, she seems smart. And I was like, you should run for a school board. And then a couple weeks later, I realized she filed for Tempe Elementary. I was like, oh, she lives in Tempe. I should have probably checked that. So luckily we see eye to eye on a lot of what's best for kids. But I think through this, I've learned we both came out of similar background and similar movement, and you know, you've been like a sister that I can call when we're having drama, not just on the board, but just in general. You know, when it's spring of 2017 and kids are worried at recess, right? We can talk about how to use McKinney-Vento to protect kids if they go home and their parents are deported, right? And having those creative conversations. And I don't think that would have been possible without you, Monica. I think my best advice for school board members is find a friend for the next cycle. You know, you need some backup in there, and I think all these people are great backup, and the people before. I think I'm most proud of preschool. I think we were all shocked that we had to advocate so much for preschool. My preschool teacher was Mrs. Escamilla. I remember her because she, you know, it would rain and she would say, oh, you're not made of sugar, so you need to come to school every day. And now I know it's chronic illnesses, you know, and absenteeism. But I mean, she still affects our life, and she later became a mentor to my mom, and that was preschool, right? That was 27 years ago. For those, I just turned 30, so it feels like a long time here. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm proud about. Non-discrimination ordinance very early on compared to other school districts. And we didn't do it slowly. We knew we had to do it quickly, and we were bold about it. Other school districts love their committees. It would be a lot more work for all of you if we had a committee for every idea we had. But you know, I joined the school board as a young student activist. I'm leaving now as a father with graying hair. But I think I've been most impressed by what I've learned about ideas and how powerful ideas are. About, you know, every student can learn. It's such a simple thing, but unfortunately a lot of people don't believe that. So a lot of people know that these are our kids, not just Tempe's kids, but this is our future kids, our future generations. A lot of people talk about those kids, and you know, hopefully all of us in our head, we write them off at that point. But I think that's been the strongest thing, and seeing how ideas have just developed in the last 7-8 years. We were like whispering about equity at ASBA, and we're like, hey, we should propose this, and let's try to present this. And now it's up on the banner, you know. It's things like that have really shifted. So I'm like, I have a lot, but I don't want you guys to get mad at me. But I think the biggest thing that I think has kept us together and functional as a board, even when we disagree, is that we're always thinking what's best for our kids, and that points us in the right direction, you know. So I think the biggest thing these last few months when people have asked me about the school board and leaving the school board is it is the hardest work that I've ever done, more emotionally, right? The paycheck doesn't help, but it is the most meaningful work that I've ever done. It's been every Wednesday, every week for the last 10 years of my life. And every time a board meeting would end, that Wednesday has since changed, you know? Now I'm going home and going to sleep because she wakes us up. But, you know, before it was like, you know, let's debrief with like friends, like, okay, there was a lot of drama, you know, things have changed. But I think the biggest thing is as long as we keep, you know, kids in mind and a good focus on justice, that will always steer us right. So I want to thank you all for having served with me, for having worked in Tempe during my time, and for the amazing things I think that are coming in the future for Tempe. I'm excited. I have some babies to raise, but other than that, I'm very excited for all of you. And you can all bother me now, legally much more so. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Ms. Trejo?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to read the remarks provided by former board member Devine, and then you can skip me and I'll come back later. So as Patrick mentioned, he's had the privilege of working with multiple board members, including Ms. Teresa Devine, and she was very clear that she wanted us to read this out loud, so I'm going to do that. Dear Patrick, oh, sorry, I was going to say, Heather, can you forward this? Dear Patrick, it has been a pleasure to work with you for the years I was on the board. I appreciate the friendship that we had and the working relationship we had. I appreciate being able to discuss the different points of view with you and being able to disagree, but still being able to maintain a working relationship. That to me is most important. I appreciate the love you have had for the Tempe elementary community and especially your willingness to serve. But serve our most important client of all, the students. I miss the interactions and debates we have had. I will always look back on that with fond memories. I wish you all the best in your next adventure and would love to see you where it takes you. Keep in touch. If you're ever in Wisconsin, let me know. Again, I wish you the best. Sincerely, Teresa Devine.
Thank you, Ms. Trejo, for reading that. Mr. Lemon, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Would you like to add anything to this item?
Oh yeah. I know who gave me more gray hairs. And it's probably my age. And I never realized how much working with a person that is several decades younger made me appreciate the fine ideas and the passion and the commitment to making the world a better place, our community a better place, and making me a better board member. And I really appreciate that. I learned a lot from Patrick over the years. And, you know, you can't always have just the right amount of candidates to run for the board and not have a contest. And so several times I've run for the board and there wasn't a contest. And several times I've run and there have been contests. And the people that succeeded in that have been exceptional board members. And I'm proud of every one of them and the service that they've done. And Patrick made a difference in my life when it was important. And I appreciate his work and his family that is growing now and where he's going and his business that he does to make things better for everyone. And I appreciate it, Patrick. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Ms. Trejo? Excuse me, not Ms.
It's
Trejo,
okay.
Mrs. Hewitt.
No, it's fine. Thank you, Madam President. Patrick, I have so much to say, but I didn't write it down, so I'll say what's on my mind right now. I don't think there's enough gratitude that I can express for how you've helped transform my life in a lot of ways. Like you said, I was just, randomly at an event that we would go to, and he, encouraged me to run for school board, and obviously I took him up on that offer, and here I am. But he's been a really good mentor as well. When I first got on the board, he really helped me. And it's really interesting because if you know Patrick and you know what he does outside, he's kind of, he was a little bit more, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, you're a little bit more active, I guess, in the streets, but he taught me something really important. And that's how I view governance, Like, he taught me how to be more effective and efficient where it counts, and that's in governance and policy. And that's something that I learned from Patrick and that I carry with me so much so that I'm, doing my dissertation on board governance. So, like, that really inspired me because we can, we can complain about everything, but at the end of the day, if you're not strategic and understand how board governance works, and how it impacts from every level, right? There's sometimes the unintended consequences of good intentions. Like, there's a lot of different layers to a lot of different things and how we view everything. And I think we've done a lot of progress with you on the board. And I'm not mistaken, if someone correct me, Mike, but ever since you've been on the board, we've had every single year our teachers have gotten a raise, right? Since 2015, is that correct? Yeah, we've had a raise every single year. When other people, unfortunately, were doing hiring freezes or cuts or whatever, we've had a raise for the last 8 years or whatever it's been. And a lot of that is about us putting our district first, putting our kids first, putting our teachers and educators and, all of our employees first. And I really appreciate that. And with Tempe Pre, as you mentioned, that was something when I was one of my first years on the board. And I know that the folks no one thought it was going to pass. And like you said, I called him like, Patrick, we need someone to go down there, to go speak. And it was within like maybe less than an hour notice, and there he was. He helped advocate for our Tempe Pre-program, and I know that was something that we got some pushback on initially, and it's been one of the most successful programs within the city of Tempe. So there's been a lot of great things, and as Patrick said early on, we do the things. We may not be boastful about it, we may not be on the social media and all these things, but all the progress that we've done is because of strong governance and because of strategy, and a lot of that is due to Patrick's leadership here, and I'm just so grateful for everything you've done. And you've just evolved so much over the last several years too, for seeing you to being now a husband and a father, and it's just so cool to see that evolution. And obviously the more gray hair, I have that problem too, that's why I dyed it, but yeah. But I'm just so very proud of you. You've encouraged me to get involved, and same thing with ASBA, the Hispanic Native Caucus, same thing, you got me involved, and I wasn't involved the first year really that much or two, and I'm president this year. So you helped me, push me for myself, and I just genuinely appreciate that, and I can't thank you enough. And it's really cool because, again, we are very focused on governance, and you may not know this, we all, for the most part get along, but we're not hanging out because there's something called OML, open meeting law, where we can't be hanging out with each other, right? So I haven't had haven't really hung out with Patrick since before I got elected. So I'm looking forward to having some happy hour with you and Penny and Stephanie soon. So it's going to be nice. So I'm just so proud of you, and I know you're going to be back because Penny's going to be in preschool soon. So I'm sure in the next 3 to 4 years you'll be back here. So thank you for everything you've done. I can't express enough, and just proud of you. So thank you.
This is yours.
I'm already choked up. I haven't even spoken yet. Hold on, let me regroup. Whew, I had this together. So Patrick, I wore my history mask. I did wear it on Monday for Mosley. I ran home, I cleaned it so I could wear it again tonight. Because you have written a history for this board and for yourself. And what's so powerful about your history is that everything you've done here is going to project onto the future, and it's not going to stop. We are not going to stop the momentum that we have on taking care of our children and our teachers and our faculty and our staff and our bus drivers and our custodians and our brown kids and our black kids and our white kids because of you. You've made sure that we've stayed on course, on pace, and found those things to be very important, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for standing up for equity at every moment that you have the chance to. You have stood up for not just children, but for their parents and for those who are less fortunate who couldn't stand up for themselves. And I talk about where I'm going to miss you the most is that you were like my request to speak, because I used to just go on there and see what was happening and then make my notes. Well, now I have you, so you've like been able to update us on everything I need to know. And now I'm gonna have to go out of my way on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays to get an update on what's happening at the state ledge, because you just know it. You know everyone down there. You've represented our children down there. I mean, separate from the board, but they know you, they respect you, and when you ask them to do something for us, they listen. And so I am going to do what I can to walk in your shoes and keep that connection with the people that you find important. So I want you to tell me what you need me to do to help keep that going. I have to laugh because I'll be at events like Monica was talking about. And when I first met Patrick, yes, I've been involved and an advocate for our children in our community in the Tri-District area for many years. And on several occasions, I would be at something and I'd be feisty. And I remember going, my God, Patrick is like feisty. That guy is just like, he is ready to tear down the house and rebuild it. And you tried to tear it down, but you rebuilt everything, right, for the better. And those things that didn't need rebuilding, you just wrapped your arms around them and gave them the support that they needed to be strong. And so I appreciate that. And it's actually kind of funny because I was at something and I was being Morales feisty, and my husband said, "You're gonna get yourself arrested." And I said, "Oh, but Patrick knows how to get me out of this. It's okay." And he's like, "Patrick Morales?" And I said, yes, just here's my phone, and you just call him if something happens. And he was like, oh my gosh. So now that there's no open meeting law between us, Trent may be calling you saying, what are you doing to inspire her to do these crazy things? So now I will call you though, and hopefully you can get me out and I'll pay you back if anything happens. I wanted to also thank you for helping me grow. I'm very blessed and fortunate to be a white girl in Tempe, Arizona, right? Like we have more services and support, and I'm white, and I need to be checked at times, or not even checked, but I just need to know what I'm not so that I can help others that need me to govern for them and help them. And you have always been there to answer. I mean, it's kind of an uncomfortable conversation sometimes when you have to ask somebody like, okay, based on your upbringing, what would you do in this situation, right? Some people can take that very negatively and like, my upbringing, what are you talking about? Whatever. No, Patrick was like, okay, let's talk about it, right? This is what these kids need, or this is what this family is gonna need, or this is what we have to focus on in order to help more than 50% of our children in this district. So I never thought of you as young. I know that there's young leaders in here, and I'm grateful for the freshness. And I just have to laugh when you mentioned about our hair colors, because I've been dyeing mine forever to keep up with you guys. But when you leave, maybe I won't have to dye my hair anymore. So I just want to thank you for helping me grow. And I'm grateful now that I can call you on things. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to. And thank you for, I just know that your next chapter is gonna be awesome to watch, and enjoy being a dad for right now, because this moment goes so fast, right? And you're gonna want to have every minute, you're not gonna wanna miss a second. So I'm glad that you're taking this time, and I hope you take this time to be with family and make some memories. And please just stay in touch, but know that this district and myself personally, we owe you a lot of gratitude, and whoever sits in that chair next has some big shoes to fill. Thank you. I didn't know if I could say his name, but that's okay. Good luck to you, buddy. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Sears. So to wrap up, I just have a couple of things to say. For those of you who know me well, you may be aware that I'm really bad at remembering people's titles and their age. I can't keep them straight. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 months into being a board member that Superintendent Bush mentioned that you happen to be young. And I remember just kind of being, not shocked, but just grateful actually that I didn't ever see you in that lens as being young or inexperienced in any way, because from the moment that I got on the board, it was clear that you were a leader. It was clear that you were very not only informed, but also articulate in what you knew. And I found you to be one of my very first two mentors. I find it kind of ironic that we always looked for age and seniority for mentorship, and my two greatest mentors are sitting up here and younger than me. And I also am one of the least politically connected people in the world. And Patrick, Monica, and Allison all have been very great at knowing wonderful people that are activists and politically powerful. And I'm grateful that you're patient with me on that, and that you teach me so that I can understand the system that I have wanted to be a part of. And I especially appreciate the tips like make sure you wear the school colors when you attend school events, and which chair should speak the least and the most, and all of those little tips that, you know, really are a refinement of leadership. And you were telling me those before I was, you know, even really getting my feet wet. And I appreciated all of the wisdom, the true wisdom that you brought to my life and in this role. I have a strong belief that the conversations that happen at the family kitchen table affect us for the rest of our lives. And I can tell based off of your knowledge of teachers and listening to your mom and your grandmother, you bring that perspective that not only is somebody who's listened to it, but you've lived it as a student, and you hearken back to what so many of us forget of what it's like to be a student. And it's that perspective to me that beyond politics and beyond, you know, the refinement of leadership, the fact that you can remember what it's like to be a student as you were a student, that to me is one of the greatest strengths, because it allows you to see the decisions that we are making and how they're going to affect the little Patricks of the world. Because that's what we're really here for, right? The little Patricks, Monicas, and Allisons of the world. And if we could only all keep that perspective, you know, I think our world would be so much greater. So Patrick, thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for all the leadership you provided. And thank you for the adorable baby that you brought tonight. I love babies. And I really appreciate all that you've done for us. Thank you, Patrick. All right, I guess we have to go on to other business. Item 4.03, presentation update on early entrance kindergarten screenings. Ms. Harvester.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Driscoll, members of the board. The purpose of our presentation tonight is to provide an update to you as a follow-up from our original meeting as requested. That original meeting, believe it or not, was held way back in October, over 60 days ago. So we are updating you on how we have looking to improve those procedures. So I just wanted to remind you that our early kindergarten entrance screeners begin the night of our kindergarten showcases, and they will be available at all sites beginning January 12th. These are the screeners, this is a new part, are going to be required to have an early childhood degree, endorsement, or kindergarten teaching experience. That is something that you requested, that we should have experts in the early childhood arena be conducting these screeners as they could make observations of the children. The screeners will all be trained to ensure inter-rater reliability, asking them again to stick to the script with fidelity, not to prompt the young learners or to hint at more answers, kind of digging information out of them, right? And you're also not going to be allowed, of course, to further explain any of the test questions or prompts. After the original screening night and the opening screening, the following screenings have been set at multiple sites. We put these sites here because of their location, trying to hit all the areas demographically in our district, And we wanted some during the day in the summer, all-day events in the summer, and in the evenings offering 3 to 5 and 4 to 6, trying to cast a wide net of times so that parents could make themselves available for one of those. We also have been looking at our fall procedures, and we will be seeking input from DLT and principals. This was the procedure that was put in place that many of the kindergarten teachers that spoke that night spoke of about the first 30 days. This will require parents to sign a contract agreeing to temporary enrollment depending on kindergarten success. I put a copy of the original contract that I updated in front of you. This basically says that if you're not successful in the first month of kindergarten, that we will look at other options. There are procedures followed for any child having difficulty, and I know this is a lot of small wording, but I will summarize it for you, and I can send the original document to you. Each child will be given 2 weeks of enrollment, and the teacher will then discuss with the parents of the student what the difficulties are. At that time, you can see the page called follow-up that we're going to continue on, we're going to look at our option, or we're going to conduct more observations. Then from 2 to 4 weeks of enrollment, again, the teacher will collect notes on the child's ability to highly function in kindergarten. And then if still not successful after 4 weeks, we will look at other options. These procedures have not changed. I just updated the forms and the letters, and we will be seeking input from principals on those procedures and see if we want to for sure enact them moving forward, but I got them ready to go if we do choose to do that. Again, this is a fine balance because we want to keep kids enrolled, so the balance between enrollment and non-enrollment. But the positive thing is that we are looking to expand preschool options, and there'll be more information from Dr. Driscoll coming to you. We're going to try to offer a paid preschool option, which we currently don't have in our district, and a DES-funded preschool option for those needing assistance for full tuition. And if preschools is expanded, the parents could be coached to enroll in preschool. Therefore, it would be a win-win for all because kindergarten wasn't quite right, but we have an option for you that is affordable or DES subsidized. That is my 4.8 update. Any questions?
Can I just add that it would be all-day preschool?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
with wraparound care, if possible.
No lights, no questions? I'm shocked. Ms. Trejo.
Thank you for following up on this. And for folks who missed that meeting, we had a lot of teacher concerns from our kindergarten teachers because some of our students were not academically, emotionally, or behaviorally prepared to enter kindergarten early. So it's not just kindergarten students, but it's kids who they want to start school a year sooner than they traditionally are supposed to. So we had some concerns with the kindergarten teachers, so that's why they're revising this process. But I know that we had talked about the concerns of having them start the year there and kind of bring them back. So I assume this has been ran through with Jordan and that this is an agreeable, I guess, compromise.
Yeah, many districts have, for early entrance, they have contracts similar to this where the parents are agreeing that this is temporary because you never know how the student's actually going to interact until they're in the actual setting. The problem that we normally have in most systems is that if the student is deemed that they cannot be successful in that setting, there's really no option for the parent. And that's why I was being purposeful in saying, if we're going to do this and enforce this, we have to have an option, and it can't be a half-day preschool option because these parents now for about a month would have had full-day coverage, and if they're at schools that have Kids Zone, they would have had wraparound services. So if we are to do this, we would have to be able to provide that similar option for families, but also have an option where if they cannot afford it, that's the DES, that they also have an option to enroll in there. And so we're cognizant of that. I'm a parent of 2 young ones, and
Thank you, Dr. Driscoll. I think that's helpful, that basically no child will not be in school either way. They will have their services provided within preschool. My next question was about the screeners. Were they revised in any way?
We did not revise the screeners.
Okay. And then if a teacher, I'm glad that we have so many options for the testing time, because I know that was also a concern. If someone wants to test their kid because they make the last one at Getz, but their home school is Scales, is that still acceptable, or do they have to test at Getz to go to Getz or Scales to go to Scales?
Through all of this, any child can test at any location.
Okay.
Even on kindergarten registration night.
Thank you.
This is the least amount of questions I've seen about this topic. In preparation for this presentation, I went back through my notes, mostly because this is a super important topic to me, having taught early childhood for a while. And I believe that other than revising the screener, you checked every single box that I recall for my notes. Is there a possibility that you will be looking to revise the screeners in the future?
We can look to revise the screener, and I guess I would need guidance. So we have a sweet spot right now of half of the kids that take it. I showed that in my presentation. About half of the kids that take the screener pass. And that was the original intent of the screener. I know that some around us have harder screeners, but they also have more applicants. And so I would look to advice on that, because if we make the screener too hard, then I think that they might choose to go to other places or things like that. So I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I didn't think that the screener was supposed to be revised at this time.
Just according from my notes, I just remember there was a possibility that we would look to revise, but I believe that the concern was actually answered in what your plan is to have fidelity amongst trained proctors that have actual training in this area. I think that will actually fix the concern that the teachers were expressing. So I think that that's a very good plan. And then we can see, right, from this next round where we stand for the applicants.
And that's what I had, is that they were concerned that people weren't early childhood endorsed, and so they were just passing the students along and without having to know like the things they should. I had that in mind.
And that's a fair concern.
And I felt like the teachers expressed that if we did the screener with fidelity, it did have general skills, but if it was prompting, then it was too easy. Was my understanding.
I think you're accurate on that. Thank you very much. Any other questions from the board? Mr. Lemon, did you have any questions? And Mr. Lemon, I need to thank you for reminding us to bring this back.
No, I thank you for the presentation. I think we're moving in the right direction. No further questions, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon.
Thank you.
Item 5.01, open call to the public. We have no blue cards, so we will skip that, which takes us right to item 6.01, celebrate excellence. I'll turn it over to Dr. Driscoll.
Right. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Tonight I have a few items to celebrate. All TD3 social workers and community liaisons had their cars full with gifts, including everything from bikes and toys to sewing machines. These gifts made the holiday season brighter for 50 TD3 students who received these gifts thanks to the University Presbyterian Church, and it took me like 12 times to say it right, Mr. Thompson, so I practiced. One of the gift recipients was a TD3 fifth grader who really wanted a sewing machine for the holidays as she dreams of becoming a fashion designer. Her grandmother said she loves to sketch out clothing to create in her free time. With the family's permission, one church member gave them a brand new sewing machine and also wanted to offer her time to teach the student how to use the sewing machine. Making this holiday season one to remember, it's stories like this to show how much and how caring our Tempe community really is. I would say tonight, me and Mr. Mangini went over to Bustos, and we had an event, I want to say, sponsored by Spread the Love. And there, they were giving away, I want to say, 102 bikes. So every student that went to the event would walk away with a bike. It was pretty amazing and awesome. And then we left there to went to, we had a basketball game, JV and varsity championships. I want to say Fees won the JV. And as we left at halftime, I'm pretty convinced that Connolly, unless Fees varsity made a heroic comeback, that Connolly will be the 8th grade champ. So it was pretty awesome to see our kids in a different light and being successful. Now this one, I hope I don't mess up her name, so I'm gonna try. Connolly Middle School, Nayeli Morales was recently named the Arizona 2023 Foreign Language Teacher of the Year by the Arizona Language Association. Ms. Morales, who teaches Spanish at CMS, was recognized as an outstanding teacher in the foreign language field. The organization identifies a teacher in the state who successfully increases the visibility of the importance of learning languages and cultures to the public. Ms. Morales is one of 9 outstanding nominees from nearby states. She will represent Arizona at the Regional Southwest Conference on Language Teaching next spring in Salt Lake City, Utah. Congratulations, Ms. Morales. This week, we celebrated ribbon-cutting events at Geneva Epps Mosley Middle School, Cecil Shamley School, and Joseph P. Spicali Elementary School. We were honored to have distinguished guests Geneva Epps Mosley, Kathy Shamley Kulik, daughter of Cecil Shamley, Martha Bowling, former student and colleague of Cecil Shamley, and Joseph P. Spicali speak to students and staff at these special events. Thank you to the Governing Board President, Charlotte Windsor, for introducing each of our guests, as well as to Vice President Allison Ewers and board members Patrick Morales, Monica Trejo, and Jim Lemon, who attended either in person or virtually. We appreciate your support throughout this process. I want to say it was really great this week, because every day this week we were at a school, just seeing the students be so happy and excited. I was a little nervous with the scissors. I didn't know that they were that big. I'm like, please don't drop the scissor and hit a kid. I don't want like that. But it was really awesome to see. The Spicali students were very excited with the scissors. And I would say the Mosley students were very energetic. And so it's funny, obviously Mr. Shamley couldn't be with us because he has passed, but having Miss Mosley and Mr. Spicali there at the school to see, and just to think that 183 years were on the stage, because I want to say Miss Mosley is 93 and Mr. Spicali is 90, and it's crazy to see like how long they've been giving their time and effort to our great city. So thank you so much, and I think that is it for my, nope, I got one more. I thought I was done. I'm hoping that I was done. I was hoping this was Friday, but it is Wednesday. So I know we're only a couple of days away from winter break. I wanted to thank everyone, including you, our governing board, even Mr. Morales, who is leaving us, for all that we have accomplished together this past year. I wish everyone a restful, safe, and joyous holiday season and break. I look forward to seeing all our students and staff when we return on Monday, January 9th, and also our latest CD3 student, and I think 4 or 5 years, Penelope, preschool student. We have Tempe Pre and all these other preschool options that we have here. Yep, 4.8er. So we're ready and able to service her. So thank you so much, and I hope everybody out there that you have a safe and peaceful holiday season. With that, I'm now done with my Celebrate Excellence.
Thank you, Dr. Driscoll. Item 7.01, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Morales and seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr.
Aye.
Item passes 5-0. And I just want to highlight 3 of the donations. I chose the top 3. We have 100 TD3 families to receive a free Christmas tree and a cozy Christmas bag valued at over $10,000. We have 103 TD3 students and their families that receive donations from Spread the Love. That's what I believe we just were talking about. And then the approval of 500 Tempe Elementary School District families to accept 23,000 meals from Arizona Cardinal State Farm and Full Cart. So thank you for those incredibly generous partners, along with a list of others. And item 8.01, reports from standing committees. Mr. Lemon, what you already reported last time, correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Ewers, did you guys have one?
I do. I usually, just don't work off of reading, but there's a lot happening with the insurance fund. Help me, Mike, what do we call it? The trust board. That's right. I'm on that board. It's a board and I should know the name of it. My bad. I love being on that board because I get to see how our district is doing it different than others and different than the business community. And none of it has to do anything with money. It has to do with health and the health of our faculty and our teachers and our friends. And so it's enlightening to see what we're doing. But I wanted to give you an update and read this to you because we have some kind of serious issues happening. The mobile on-site mammography. So women, we all know that we need to get our mammogram. We all know that finding the time and setting up the appointment and going and all of that just stinks. So I'm so proud of this trust board because they're doing everything they can to make sure that our women are as healthy as possible and make sure that they stay healthy and taking some of those hurdles out. So what's happening is in order to offer the service to the employees this year, because there's been some changes in services that a lot of these companies have offered, is that we are now required to meet patient minimums. So before they used to have a mobile mammography truck that would come and it was just whoever used it. But we have to meet minimums or we have to pay for them separate, and we have to pay for everybody who doesn't show up. We have to have 15 for a 4-hour session and 24 for sessions over 4 hours. Or we're responsible for paying for the mammograms, and that's $217 per exam. So mind you, we're paying that, and we're going to pay that if you show up or not. This makes it as easy as possible, and I'm just asking for everyone to pay attention to the flyers that they get on this, and please sign up, and please do it so we can continue to offer this service. If we don't meet the minimums, we have to pay. The trust reviewed historical mom, it's called attendance, and decided to offer 2 mobile on-site events this year. One for 9 hours at Sanchez and one for 4 hours at Bustos in February and early March. So watch for these dates, and every woman in this room, please watch for those dates and participate, not just for your health, but for the health of this program, because we want to keep it alive and we want to be able to offer it, okay? And if there's a survey and there's enough interest to schedule a 3rd event, we will do that. But right now we need to meet the minimums for those so we can continue to offer the service. The wellness program prize drawing. The trust board voted to approve a wellness prize drawing to promote preventative care. Employees who opt into the prize drawing have an opportunity to win one of 20 $150 taxable prizes by completing an annual wellness exam. Annual preventive, annual mammogram, annual colonoscopy, annual prostate, annual cervical exam. Boy, this sounds fun. But you can win $150 between January 1st, 2023 and December 31st, 2023. So you got like the whole year to do this in, and you can win some money. Eligible employees must be enrolled in one of the plans, the B, C, B, S, A, Z plans, and complete an annual wellness exam between January 1st and 12/31, and be actively, and employees must opt in to the prize drawing before December 31st. So the wellness coach will also bring paper copies of the opt-in form to all sites at Lunch and Learns. So watch for those at Lunch and Learns, try to win some extra money, try to take care of ourselves. That needs to be like all of our New Year's resolutions. About us, take care of ourselves. Vigilant blood drive. Tempe Elementary sponsored 2 blood drives on Friday, December 16th at Brogan. We had 29 donors, donated 18 units of whole blood and 7 Power Red donations. We saved the potential of 84 lives in our community this holiday season. So just remember, every time you give blood, you're not just saving one, but multiples of people. And I'm just grateful that our TD3 community came out to help their community. So those are the main things. There was a field trip with Aguilar this morning, or yesterday, at the Musical Institute Museum. And I guess it went awesome, so Sandra wanted me to mention that to you guys, so I did. So again, the board is in good standing. As you can imagine, the price of healthcare has gone up immensely. The cost to our employees has not gone up. The board and the district has decided to pay that gap. But every time we don't concentrate on taking care of ourselves and allow ourselves to get sick or don't do this preventative, it puts us at risk to have higher claims. So there's a big picture here, and we're all involved in it. We want to continue to give the best plans, and I'm not saying plan, I hope you all heard me. We have plans for people to choose from, and I want to keep it that way. So with that said, get all your tests done after the new year, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sears.
Sorry, I was just asking Mr. Mangini, maybe, will this be emailed to all staff?
Yeah, I don't think it's out yet, but now that we have the dates, it will be, yes. That's why I said watch for your flyers, or your news. Chessboard and news, those are my words I gotta remember. I'm a little wacky tonight, I know, it's the end of the year. I've had
Okay. No more cookies before board
No more
meetings.
cookies.
Noted.
no more cookies.
All right, any questions on item 8.02, the student activity report for September and October? As usual, no questions. Thank you very much. And that goes to 9.01, board members' points of information. Do I have any lights? Ms. Trejo.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Ms. Sears, and to all of our staff who serves on that board. Very important stuff. Thank you, guys. I want to say congrats to Ms. Morales at Conley. That is amazing. Nationally. Big congrats to you. And thank you to all of our staff who helped put on our renaming ribbon cutting. It was really, I got to go today and attend the others virtually. It was really awesome to see that. And, you know, it's really great that we have our living legends to be able to join us as well. And I just want to know, a shout out to our staff too, because last week was the ASBA annual conference, and it was there was different people there from other administrators from other districts, different vendors that provide different services to districts across the state. And let me tell you, and I'm not just trying to brag, but because they were bragging about our staff. And I met random people, like a random photographer. He's like, oh, because we have little badges. You're with Tempe Elementary. Do you know Brittany Franklin? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, she's amazing. And he's like, oh, she is amazing. But they were just bragging about like the stuff you've done with communications and wanting to work with us. And I just think that's amazing. And then same thing, someone also mentioned Mike, and then a few people actually mentioned Michelle Grimaldi. So those of you who don't know, we've created a new position this year. Dr. Driscoll, encouraged us to create, because one of the things we keep talking about is wraparound services. Like a majority of student success is based on factors outside of school, right? So we need to have those wraparound services. And Michelle Grimaldi is our director of wraparound services. So she's helped bring in every level of service you can imagine to our community. And it hasn't been that long, but the success is, powerful. And folks are like, yeah, like she's the perfect person for that job. And, there's other districts that, have something similar, but, it's not always the best fit. But that room was packed, and, they were just bragging, and I'm just like, that's amazing. And Dave Farmer too, Dave Farmer works with a lot of our folks in building, and just, they couldn't say enough good things. And it was just so cool to hear, that folks are bragging about all of you guys and all the work you do. And I was touched, and I was like, oh, that was really sweet. And yeah, I just thank you all. And also we have our new board member elect here, board member Eric Miller. Welcome, thank you for coming. I encourage you to meet some of our staff while you're here. And I don't want to say it again, but I'm gonna really miss you, Patrick. And it's gonna be really hard. I like to be in denial until the last minute, and it's gonna be hard not having you here anymore, but thank you.
Tomorrow?
Well, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trejo. Ms. Yours.
I first want to congratulate board member Monica Trejo. She did an incredible job being president. of the Arizona School Board Association. We're talking the state of Arizona. And she represented the state and she represented Tempe, and I was so proud of her. And it's so true. As I walked around when we were in our breakouts, I'd have people say, "Oh my God, you're from Tempe. I love your superintendent. I love Mike. I love Brittany. And I'm like, I do too. It's awesome." So it's really, I just am grateful because our love for children reaches out, and I hope that we can continue to project it out as a group. I want to second that. I want to tell you congratulations. You did a dynamo job. She did it with such grace and such elegance, and it's not an easy job. And she represented the rural schools and the city schools, and there is more equity because of the hard work that you put into that. And so I'm so proud of you. And congratulations to Tempe Union High School District for winning their award for the Board of the Year. I was proud of you guys too. I was like, those are our people. So congratulations on that too. Yeah, and I just like to remind everyone that what's so awesome, I'm always talking about how awesome we are, but this board is incredible. Not only are we involved in education, and we find education to be important, and we govern this district, right? But we also believe in continuing to educate ourselves. And I personally get so much out of these opportunities, and I'm grateful to have them. And poor Dr. Driscoll and Brittany have to listen to me all week through my text messagings of my brain bursts that I have because I'm inspired by these meetings, and I have to get them out and say, can you help me do something with these? So I thank you for taking those calls and texts throughout the week. You're probably like, please do not send her to another conference. So that was awesome. The renaming of our schools was such an honor to be involved with and an honor to be there with you all. I'm just so proud of the people that we renamed our schools after, and that was an awesome moment. And then now I want to get kind of serious again because I made some promises to city officials and people who care about us. This holiday is not going to be all freckles and sunshine for our families. We have several families who might not have gifts, might not have food, might not be as safe as we want them to be. So I want to be very clear about this. One, for all of us, check your fire extinguishers. Trees burn down. We put lights up and we put 15 lights in the one socket, and we're still all doing that. I mean, we see it on old Christmas movies, and I know it's happening. Check your fire extinguishers, make sure you have an exit plan for your family, and make sure that you can get that fire out, right? Two, we have a lot of kids who, last year at the Gilland groundbreaking, I said to a young man, I said, are you so excited you have one more day and then it's Christmas break? And he said to me, no, because this is my place where I eat and where I'm safe. So we have kids that for 2 weeks are going to live different lives than many of us in this room. So please, if you have a chance, just keep a lookout for them. And I want to put this number because I know that there's maybe 5 people on YouTube that will watch it. Those 5 people can tell one person who can tell one person. We have Care 7 in Tempe, and their phone number is 480-350-8004 or care7@tempe.gov. Students can call it, parents can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you see people in distress, you see veterans in distress, you see kids, or you know a child who is not gonna be as safe as you want them to be, please make sure that they have that phone number or this YouTube channel or something. I don't know. If we could just help one kid out of the 50 or 100 or 200 that will struggle, it will make me feel better. So just watch your families, stay safe. We have a child who's suffering right now. Accidents happen. They happen more often when we're not in school, and we know that. So be aware of yourselves, your surroundings, and the children around you when they're out of school. And again, have the conversation about drugs And I'm done with my dissertation. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ewers. Mr. Morales.
Yeah, new topics. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this week. I think Dr. Driscoll mentioned we've done so many school rebuilds, but I think with the renaming and the way the process went, there's something about restorative justice in that is a great way to cap off years of service on this board. I think the Sprickelli School is the park I hang out the most at, and like I said, the northern campus is what used to be Laird was the first rebuild, and I think the biggest thing with Geneva Mosley is she reminds me so much of my grandma, and I was shocked that my mom sent me a great picture taken by the comms department, and I was like, "Where'd you get this picture?" And she's like, "Oh, I was watching on YouTube," and she should have been teaching. So I don't know how she did that, but I asked her. I was like, "Yeah, but who sent you the link?" I never sent her the link. I didn't want her to watch. And she said, "Oh, I'm subscribed to the YouTube channel for Tempe." And so that's proof, that there's some ninth grade classroom somewhere was probably forced to watch it. But so that was great to see, and I think to Ms. Trejo's point and Ms. Ewers' point, at the conference, not only do we hear so many great things about you all as staff, but I think a lot of great expectations for Dr. Driscoll. No pressure. Everyone's very excited to see where you take the district, and I think I'm very excited to see where you take the district, and not just because I hired you, but because of your amazing vision that you've shared with us the last few years, and the innovation that you're already showing all of us. It's been great to see, but it's definitely also the talk of the town, and I would be remiss if I did not thank everyone for my awesome time as a Tri-District Finance Committee Chair. Anyone that's served on that committee knows. See, he knows. It's a great time. Nothing better than every 3 months you get a text, "Hey, the meeting's in 5 minutes." But I mean, that taught me more about stocks than doing it. So that really helped. And I do have to mention, because you were mentioning the feistiness. I think when I think about the board, I think so much about governance. When you're president or vice president, you're governing the governance of the board. When I first got in this seat, I was meant to agitate. Now I'm elder statesman, right? So I stay quiet. I'm more quiet than when I first got on the board. But I think the best example, and I've shared this with people, when they are involved outside of the walls of a school district, we had a March for 515 before the minimum wage change happened, when that idea was first being created in Arizona. And I was in the middle of the Hayden lawn at ASU, and we're giving the speech and everything, and my professor comes out, and he's like, "Oh, is this why you haven't been in class?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." So luckily I was able to enter an essay later on and pass the class. But from there, we marched over to President Crow's office, and then over to the McDonald's on Rural. And I had 20, 30 minutes before the next board meeting. So I ran home, showered, put on a suit, and then it came, and then I didn't mention it. And I think I share that because a lot of board members will share about their random life adventures. And besides not making our meetings too long, this is a long meeting for us. I want to make sure that we distinguish between ourselves as personal and private individuals, and as people that are governing for the interests of kids and for all people. So I do want to apologize, I think, for the first few times that I got arrested, Brittany, and I didn't tell you. I didn't know I had to, inform the district. I remember, and I want to say sorry to Jordan somewhere out there. Jordan, our attorney, was very shocked. But I was like, "Don't worry, Jordan, I have different lawyers for different things. This is not your department." So I was like, I was out the next day, so no worries. And I think one side note, I am training for the 5K. I'm trying to convince my wife. So you guys need to sign me up because I tried online. It's closed. I'm halfway there. I'm halfway to the 5K goal. The only other thing I was going to mention is I think all of you and the board sacrifice so much with our friends, our family, our spouses, and our kids. So I definitely want to thank my wife for the years of service she's done, keeping me sane and listening to my rants after a school board meeting, good or bad, and to my girls, but also to all of your children, and making sure that we thank all of our partners, because they might put up with a lot and they don't decide to run for office. So definitely want to thank you for that. So, and I met her here at Cartel. She was working as Arizona Dairy Council, and she used to do Fuel Up to Play 60. So I had to not vote on that a couple years. So thank you, and thank you to the board one last time.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Mr. Lemon, did you have anything you wanted to add tonight?
Yes, if I could.
Please.
This is finishing my 18th year on the school board, and I think about the previous board members that I've served with, and I think about Patrick, and we served together for 6 years, and then also on these committees in between while I took that short hiatus. And if it wasn't for Patrick, I probably wouldn't have run again, or certainly not been encouraged to do the things that we did, in spite of him getting arrested and standing up for his beliefs, or sitting down, I guess, in some of the cases in the senator's office. But it's remarkable to look at what has happened on our school board, not just our constant education of ourselves to be better at conducting the governance of our organization, but also to work with one another, and whether we're progressive or conservative or moderates, we still look at the kids first, and that's what Patrick has always done. That's what Monica's always done. That's what every board member that I've worked with has always done that. And this is the toughest meeting that we have every 2 years. It's saying goodbye to the board members who've become our friends, not because we spend a lot of social time with them, but because we spend so much business time with them, solving real world problems and looking after the tax money that our district property owners have decided to trust us with. I think tonight the board is going to authorize spending $20 million, which is a good chunk of change. And nobody ever questions those sort of things. And it's because of the staff, the professionalism, and because all the board members, Patrick and others, have kept their eye on the important issues, the big issues, and then the small details. And so it's a pleasure to serve with all of you. And I'm up here in Colorado with my family and some little ones, and it's snowing right now out here. And I think with the wind chill, it's going to be minus 40 or minus 60 degrees. So we're charging up all our phones and all those sort of things. And I just appreciate being able to attend the meeting virtually, attend all the renaming ceremonies virtually. And like Dr. Driscoll, I thought those scissors were a bit big. And but they did the job, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much. That's all, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Ms. Sears asking for 30 seconds. Start the clock.
I just want to follow up something. Jim Lemon had reminded me of something. I want to thank and congratulate the children at the assemblies these last 3 days. I have to commend the parents who have taught their children how to behave, and I have to commend the teachers who controlled their classrooms, and I have to commend the kids for being so interested and being so good and being so happy. It was a delightful moment. I was just so proud of all of our children. So I had forgotten to say that, but it's important. Thank you.
29 seconds. Well, now Ms. Ewers officially stole the very last thing I was going to say. Literally checking him off. All right, Eric Miller, Monica Trejo, there we go. So I will add, super excited to see Nayeli Morales up there. She was both of my daughters, is one of my daughters' Spanish teacher, and another daughter who is out of Tempe now. And we were just talking about her last night because my daughter was talking about the recommendation form she filled out for Teacher of the Year. So I'm excited to go home and tell my daughter that made a difference, because I think kids need to be reminded that they make a difference. And I was super impressed with the children at all 3 assemblies, especially the ones that went a little bit longer than what little bodies struggle to cope with. I was so impressed with that, because I know that I started to get a little wiggly myself, and have a lot more years on them. So I also wanted to give a big shout out to the staff, Darren, who's, trying to make sure we're all at least heard. Brittany, who I've been bugging for weeks, and she's like, I've got to get all these pieces in line, and she got them all in line, and she made it happen. Dr. Driscoll, who kept on saying, talk to Brittany, and and Gabby and Amy, who almost had a full-on blown panic attack when they counted to 3 too early, and I mean all of those moments. It was truly, I love working with you guys. I hope you know that. And as much as I don't like mornings, I certainly hate having to get up earlier, just so my hair looks a little bit more dry than it normally does. But I loved seeing TD3 staff every morning for the last 3 days. It has been a joy to see you all. And with that, I'm going to move to announcements, especially my favorite announcement. Winter break will be on December 26th. I have gone around apologizing all day, because all day today felt like a Friday and not a Wednesday. And I do know I'm partially personally responsible for the calendar this year. So, and Mr. McGeaney, right? Winter break will be December 26th through January 8th. All district schools and offices will reopen Monday, January 9th, 2023. There will be a regularly scheduled governing board meeting on Wednesday, January 11th in the Karen Arredondo Governing Board Room. The Tempe Elementary Love Your Heart 5K sponsored event by TEA will be Saturday, February 18th, and I believe that link is actually live. It's been verified at 8 a.m. at Kiwanis Park. Item 11.01, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Ewers and seconded by Mr. Morales. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Item passes 5-0.